Greetings and welcome to Office Hours, where we answer your questions 7 days a week, tech or production related. And speaking of questions, let's dive into it.
First question this morning is from Robert Shoji in Los Angeles. Any practical suggestions on improving room acoustics for recording interviews without drastically changing the room aesthetics? Go ahead, Courtney.
Well, if you have a hardwood floors or hard floors, linoleum floors, put a carpet down. It can be a tasteful carpet, but one that will absorb sound. Also, if you have any windows that are nearby that have curtains in front of them, close the curtains because putting the curtains in front of the reflective glass will help remove some of the echoes. And if you have a wall that is out of the shot and you don't mind sticking up something temporary, get you a C-stand or something that you can hang a moving blanket on or drape a moving blanket over and raise it up and block any flat walls that are parallel to any other flat walls. And that will greatly improve the acoustics, even if you can only cover one of the two parallel walls.
Alexander?
Yeah, those are good suggestions. I was going to suggest the pipe and drape situation as well for a wall that perhaps might be out of the shot. But also, you want to equip yourself with the right microphones, the right tools for the jobs as well. So you're going to want to take microphones, typically dynamic microphones, and ones that have very high off-access rejection as well. So that would be microphones like the Electro Voice RE20s and the Heil PR40s, the SM7Bs to a degree, although I think the PR40 and the RE20 have slightly better off-access rejection. Get them very close to the talent's mouth on a boom stand, and that's usually your first line of defense if you can't make major changes to the space. And also experiment with positions. Think about, like, where are these people going to be sitting in the room, and where is the back of the microphone pointing, right? So just mess around with some of the positioning and do that ahead of time before people get there to see what sounds better.
And Bill.
So you've gotten really good suggestions there. The other thing I think like a pool player or a billiards player. When you're got your room sort of set up, you're going to have microphones in certain locations and you're going to have people that you want to hear in certain locations. And I always look at that and I say to myself, where might a sound from the person talking hit and reflect back to the microphone before it gets there? Those are usually the reasons you get some room sounds and things. It's reflected sound that usually you're trying to avoid with all this room treatment and things like that. So I think about, for example, here at my desk, I used to sit this way and point off to that side to do all my voiceover recording, but I had a compelling reason to switch and to do it this way for the audiobooks and things like that. And I noticed that there's a wall about 4 feet from me that was very hard, and I felt like I was getting a reflection off of that. So I just got a little acoustic panel. It's about 2 by 3 feet, and I leaned it up against, and it made a big difference in the way the sound was hitting. So you look at those things in all dimensions. Is there something hitting the ceiling and reflecting down? Courtney mentioned the floor. Is there something hitting the floor and coming back up in the microphone? I look for all those hard surfaces. I like the general idea of drapes and things that people have said already, but you can also look for specific problems like that where for some reason the distance between the source of the sound, your mouth, and the microphone pickup is just at a mathematical distance. It's causing a specific increase in certain kinds of frequencies that you may not want, so you can put something absorptive right there to fix that or help fix it.
And Alex.
Yeah, it depends on whether you're doing this temporarily or permanently. So there's a lot of baffles and different types of baffles that you can make look like they're part of the room. You know, so we've actually had some guests on. I can't think of the name as quickly as I needed to. That build very, very well designed baffles that will just look like designs on your room. I know folks that have put in a lot of these and just installed them, and so it looks artistic. Sometimes it's wood baffling, sometimes it's a softer baffling. We've also gone to rooms that are basically across the studs. They have baffling on the inside, and they just run fabric across it. So if you put your hand against it, you feel it sink in. But aesthetically, you don't see anything. It just looks like a regular room. And those rooms are great. So just in case you're wondering, they look and sound amazing. But you do have to be careful with the walls. I'm doing more recording a podcast on the road. I did one over the weekend, with Michael Krasny. And one of the things that I'm putting back together is kind of a kit that I can kind of throw into rooms. And one of the things that I'm using is this. This is what you're looking for is like either a seamless background this is a heavy duty backdrop stand. This has a couple different pieces so that you don't have to make it as wide that wide if you don't need it. But what I'm then doing is having 90-pound, I'm using the heavy-duty one because I'm using 90-pound moving blankets, putting grommets in them, and then setting them to about 50 to 100% fullness across that so that I can put them into those spaces and just kind of suck up a bunch of sound in the room that I'm in. So those are other things to kind of think about as you start to build it. We've done it with C-stands in the past. I'm experimenting with something that's a little bit more portable than the C-stands. I'm trying to have something I can put in my car and easily carry out and be set up in 20 or 30 minutes.
Next question.
Paul Terry Valhus in Hot Springs, Arkansas is asking, how do you control a Sony ZV camera remotely in a Zoom meeting?
Alex?
I use Monitor 1. It's a little quirky, but it does work. Monitor Plus. Monitor Plus. I think Sony has a piece of software as well. The one that I've been the most successful with is Monitor Plus so far. Monitor Plus will allow you to there is a Wi-Fi on the camera. Monitor Plus will find it for your phone. You jump onto it. You have most of the controls that you would need. I do think that there's some additional software that Sony's putting out that will allow folks to do that. You can't remotely do it through a Zoom meeting. So what I'm assuming is you're in a Zoom meeting trying to remotely do it in the room. As far as getting to it from a Zoom meeting, there's no way to do that I know of.
Next question.
From the QR code, Michael Curtis in Rogers, Arkansas. Have any of you used Llama Mix yet, a software-based mixer workflow that has an integrated NDI backbone, either on-premise or in a cloud-based solution?
Go ahead, Alex.
We had them on the show earlier, but we haven't actually put them into effect yet. We were looking at using them for our show in the evening. That's going to be this tonight, extra hours starting at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are looking at different pieces of software right now. It's really there's a mixer built into VisVector, which has been useful enough for us to not need anything else at the moment. But we are looking at Llama and we're looking at on Hertz, and we haven't made a decision yet.
Next question.
Douglas Carmichael asks, do you think any of the multi-LLM platforms like Perplexity will gain any traction in the AI market?
Go ahead, Courtney.
Yeah, I hope so, because I use Perplexity and I have a plugin in my browser that lets me use it. Perplexity is one of the aggregators that uses multiple LLM models, and you can have, if you take a look, here's their homepage here, you can direct its focus by choosing an area of interest, whether you're just doing web search on everything, your own stuff, social media, video. And so it's nice that you can tailor the search and tailor the model that you're using to serve your own purposes. It is being sued right now by NASDAQ and the people that run the Washington Post and the New York Times over copyright issues. They think they are going to win that case. We'll see, because they claim that they're using their copyrighted information or use some of their copyrighted information to train their models without paying for it. I'm not sure they're going to win that. I haven't looked at all the details in the case, but it depends. Their stock is up, so I guess they feel strongly about it. So I think it's going to stick around, and the outcome of that lawsuit may determine if other aggregators like that are using multiple LLM models will be able to succeed without having to license all their information.
And Alex?
I think that this federated language model process is also being used, I believe, by Zoom to do some of the solutions that they have as well. Yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of copyright issues that need to be processed. It's very unclear as to whether the copyright's going to work, because of the way the LLMs work. And so I think that a lot of people are giving them 50-50, but it's worth, I guess, taking them to court. The real problem is that a lot of people are standing on the sidelines right now because they're not sure of the legality. If the legality is sorted out and if they win, then a lot of things will change. There'll be a bunch of licensing. If they lose, there's billions of dollars that will flow into the AI system very, very fast because people will no longer be concerned about it. And so it could go either way, and we won't know anytime soon. Most of these legal cases will take years, maybe 3 to 5 years to sort themselves out.
And Douglas, so the key word here for me is like what you said, traction. And I know a lot of my tech folks, a lot of people are already using Perplexity, but then the mainstream market, there's always that, early adopters, and then those before it gets to the masses, just like ChatGPT, etc. When we look at the numbers, and I asked Perplexity, I said, how many people are approximately using it? They've got 10 million active monthly users, which is a really good number. But when you compare that to something like Google Gemini, where they have 274 etc. million users each month. So I think Perplexity is up there, because if you ask people in the space who are using LLMs, that Perplexity is there. So it's really, how do you define the term traction? Alex?
Yeah, and it's going to be worth continuing to watch what Apple does with their kind of 3-stage AI solution. I think that is I don't think that people understand how disruptive that model is. And so I think that Apple's kind of doing the slow horse thing, like they're kind of behind everybody else. But what they're doing is that they are building something that eventually will probably be 90% on your phone, or 80% on your phone, 10 or 15% on their private cloud, and just a handful of searches that are out of range that go out of that. And I think that means 3 to 5 years from now, and everyone else will wish that they could do that, because people are going to be wanting to do more and more private searches, more and more things that are secure. And I think we have some questions coming up about that. And I think that Apple is positioning itself, even though it's slow to the market, which is what Apple typically does, is that they kind of let everybody else scramble for the ground, and then they kind of take a different approach and kind of just step methodically forward through that, kind of using everybody else's tracks. So we'll see how it goes.
Next question.
Samuel Nordvik in Norway asks, are there any LLMs that can be run locally to analyze sensitive documents or PDFs that can't be uploaded to ChatGPT or Notebook LM for security reasons?
Go ahead, Courtney.
There might be some. I think I've been playing with Notebook LM, and I've been looking at their privacy information, and you cannot run that unless you have a Google account. So once you have a Google account or a Gmail account, you log into your Google account, and then it stores all of your information that you drag into Notebook LM into the cloud, but in your Google Drive, where they assure you that, in their privacy information at least, that that information is not shared and it's not used to train other AI models. So it's maintained privacy. Whether or not that could be hacked, who knows? That's possible at some point in the future. But you're only as secure as, your local machine could be hacked too. So it may not be as secure as Google Drive even. So it depends on what kind of protection software you're running on your local machine. So I guess it's all a toss-up, but I'd trust probably Google and Notebook LM for the current, current situation.
Alex?
Yeah, Stability AI, and there's a variety of different local-based solutions that are they're going to take longer. They're going to be slower because they're using one CPU and not these crazy NVIDIA systems. And so, but they are something that there's plenty of AI solutions, LLM models that are running locally. And I do think that is going to be a big growth industry of people who don't want to, for a variety of reasons, don't want to put information, whether it's a legal document or a medical document or just personal documents. They're not going to want to put those on the internet. And so I think that you're definitely going to see some interest there.
And Bill?
I just wanted to touch base with Courtney. Courtney, I've been getting a lot of notifications that my old Google Drive account is getting shut down by Google, and I guess they're trying to push everybody into the cloud service. I was wondering if you knew anything about that and what the implications of shutting down the old service and changing to the new service are.
are you sure those emails aren't phishing emails? Because I get a lot of those that say, your Google Drive account is out of date and will be shut down. And then, click on this link to reaffirm your credentials. And then it's, of course,
I suppose it's possible. It's popping
You're now infected
literally
with a virus.
Yeah, maybe
Do not
so.
click on any links in any email that say they come from Google.
I haven't gone anywhere to do anything with it. But yeah, it's just interesting.
Google.com, log into your account and check your drive, and they will have any notifications will be there if for some reason you have to move from an old version to a new version. I haven't gotten any of those notifications.
Okay, so it may
and
be just phishing.
I do pay a monthly fee. They have a certain amount once you have a Google account of free storage, but if you exceed that storage, you will get a notification, and then you have to pay them $2 a month or something, $10 a year to increase it for another 100 megabytes or 100 gigabytes. I mean, so
I only asked here because the only thing I have on Google Drive is show stuff because of the Google accounts that we use occasionally in the back end of the show. So thanks.
Yeah, maybe a video file could probably fill up your free allotment, and if you're not paying for a monthly storage fee for Google Drive, you could be exceeding that. So just log into it and check how full it is.
And another way that you can look at this as well, Samuel, until you find that ultimate solution, is the ways that you can change or redact some of the information, changing names. I remember when I worked at the state, there were certain projects that had certain types of names, and just changing the information. There's a specific term, and it's slipping me at this moment, that people are using to do that to their documents before uploading them. So when I find it, I will put it in Discord, but that's another way to look at for you to solve the problem of just maintaining security on that end. Next question.
From the QR code, Kent in Madison, Ohio. When using a LiveView Pro, if you are not using LRT, will the LiveView find the best connection and use it?
Alex?
Well, it depends on what where it's going to. So are you sending that to the LiveView cloud? Are you sending it out to another location? So those are the questions that you have to look at, is whether where is it going? So it may be another solution there. The LiveView cloud is capable of sending it in a lot of different ways, out there. So you'd have to look at, maybe if you ask that question again, like what are you starting with and where are you trying to get to? And maybe we may be able to answer that a little more accurately. A lot of the stuff that we do with LiveView is with an LU800. Then that can either go to the cloud or it goes to another device. It goes to another appliance where it just comes out. And so it's using the LRT as the in-between. So I'm not sure why you're not using it. So there are reasons to deliver things at SRT, for instance, from the LiveView cloud, but it just depends on what you're trying to get done.
Next question.
From Tony Mobley, Noonan, Georgia. Why is the iOS 18.2 beta AI creation on iPhone 16 not available for some beta testers?
Jason?
As of right now, Apple is kind of staggering out Apple Intelligence, and I think it's because they are both building the platform as they're running it and onboarding it, but also because they're trying to gather interest in certain pieces of this Apple Intelligence thing that they're rolling out. So, yeah.
Next question.
Paul Terry Valhus in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Do you think we'll ever talk to bankers over Zoom? What businesses will be last to adopt Zoom or never adopt Zoom?
Bill?
It's a thorny question. My question is, do you think we'll ever get to talk to a banker when you go into a bank anymore? The last couple of times I've had to actually walk into a physical bank. You get some manager over and they were 24 and it was an interesting process. So obviously banks do not make their money anymore on the retail banking system. It's almost like an afterthought to have an actual place for you to go to. They want you in the cyber system one way or another. I'm sure there's a lot of privacy and disclosure and regulatory concerns about talking about your financial profile on an unsecured, unencrypted system, Zoom being one of many. But I do think banks are changing. And for the last probably 15 years, my overall impression of that industry is we don't really want to talk to you. We just want to microcharge you for every single thing you do. And that's how we're going to make our money from now on.
Courtney?
Yeah, banks are trying to move away from the least number of persons employed to handle their customer service as possible. So, they might move to, a lot of banks have already moved to chatbots to handle questions and getting through the chat, through the AI, customer service bot to get to a real customer service person is difficult. And as tools like Vasa 1 from Microsoft, if they were ever released, these are the type of AI tools that can take just a still picture of someone and animate it with an audio file, even a live audio feed, and make the face and the mouth look completely believable in the eyes. So with those tools, if those tools are ever released to the public, and they've been holding them back specifically for this kind of reason of spoofing people in situations like that, it may become any kind of transaction. You can ask questions, but any kind of secret information exchanged, they will not exchange probably without some form of 2 or 3 factor authentication. You're going to have to use your fingerprint or your cell phone and numbers, 2-factor type of authentication before they will approve any kind of transaction, even if they have supposedly a live image of you on a screen and you're talking to supposedly a live banker. It remains to be seen how they're going to allow that. Right now, I can do banking transactions and move a lot of money around with just 2 or 3-factor authentication on any transaction. So I imagine they will be able to do it with your image up on Zoom.
Alex?
Yeah, banks have been using these kinds of things for a long time. So they definitely. I did one event where we had probably 50 bankers that controlled like $3 trillion. On that was the whole show, was just those 50 people that were on not Zoom but something similar. And so I think that you definitely they're a lot of the call centers and everything else are moving towards video solutions. Definitely, if you have enough money, you definitely can do it at any point in time. You can talk to your banker in person or over Zoom, and it really depends on where you are as far as a consumer as to how much interaction you have with the bank. It's how much money you have in the system. Definitely improves your ability to talk directly to them because there's more at stake. And that's kind of a common theme for many things.
And it is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, so this is a timely conversation. Some of the people in our community have shared that bankers are using Zoom, so it may be a matter of how and where they're using it. I see that James says we talk to a personal banker 1 or more times a week via Zoom, so it potentially could be where it's being rolled out to. But it is good to hear that they are integrating those platforms. To your point, Alex, I've seen them having their own interface, so that shows the security aspect of it and using video to engage with people. And then on the other side, companies like I've seen Staples using video like inside. You can actually get a personal consultation working with someone. I think it was like a couple years I saw that in Toronto, and I was mind blown by that, where you could interface with someone in the location. So that was just their way to be able to have more body power, more talent workforce, but having that virtually, so that if you had to design something, like you could be working and interfacing with someone like that. So very much the Jetson era has arrived. Alex?
And also remember that that many times, especially with these higher value target, higher value markets, that Zoom may be in the back end and you just may not know it. So the protocols, the servers, everything else might be white labeled, and so you may not see Zoom, but it may be actually what's being used to talk to your banker.
And for our producers, this is a great time for you to submit any of your questions. Also remember that this show is driven by you. So go ahead and vote up and down so that we can answer your priority questions in that order. Next question.
This one's from Douglas Carmichael. Could a Sony Bravia professional monitor be a solid alternative to a smart TV for home use if you feed it from an Apple TV?
Jason?
For the record, I don't believe in smart TVs. I think they are just telemetry wasting things that spew all your information onto the internet. As a rule, this line is just fine. I've put a pair of these into a major Zoom installation in a law firm, and they worked great. But again, just don't connect it to the internet, and it'll be great.
Alex?
Yeah, you should never connect your TV to the internet. It's a horrible idea, like on so many levels. So don't just ignore the smart thing, But I think that at the price that you're talking about for that Sony, there's a lot of TVs that probably do better. That may be something that you could use, but there's 55-inch TVs that are a lot less expensive, and also ones that are the same price and a lot brighter and more detailed. So I don't think that's the TV I would use, but I would not. Again, we'll just do the public service announcement of do not, under any circumstances, plug your TV into the internet. It's crazy. You are the product at that point.
Courtney?
Yeah, and remember that you're basically on a plain monitor like that doesn't have any tuners or features or TV features or streaming, which of course you don't want to connect to the internet, as Alex says. The panels, the quality of the panels in there determines the quality of the image, and TVs are much more of a commodity, so they're sold on a much larger basis than a computer-based monitor. So you'll get a better value if you buy a TV with the same resolution, because a lot of those panels are all coming out of the same factory.
And just pulling in some of the, one of the comments particularly, Mickey says, at peak brightness of just 440 nits, I will look elsewhere. And David also says, I use non-smart TVs and or computer monitors for my TV for years. Oh, how I miss the days of plasma. Next question.
Roscoe Jones in Madison, Indiana. Any opinions on this interesting way to virtually view events? Is its appeal to show or the shared experience, or the air-conditioned setting?
Alex?
Yeah, and this is Cosm, and I had it open, and I literally just shut it while I was trying to get to it. I'll pull it up here in a second here. But Cosm is it's in Dallas and Los Angeles. I tried to go see it. I just didn't quite get enough time to see it there. This is what it looks like. Here you can kind of see that's an LED wall that everyone's looking at there. More LED above. So they're trying to really create the experience that you're there. So you can see people, cheering and getting excited about it. I think it's actually a pretty cool setup, and some folks that are checking it out here. But what you can see here is that it's not very full at the moment. And I think one of the challenges is going to be being able to get the money back on that. That's a lot of LED walls. So it'll be interesting to see if they're able to make that happen. They are expecting to build more of these. And I do think as an experience, I think that they could be very valuable. I think that the only way that they're really going to work is to have the experience built for the screen. So I think that they're doing a little bit of that right now. But I think that's going to be the hard part, is that they need, sports is going to be hard because there's so much money put into the broadcast, and just putting the broadcast up there is not going to be competitive. You're going to need to find ways that you're giving people an experience of that event that is better than TV. And I think that it's hard. It's a really hard thing to do in sports. I know a lot of people get excited about that, but we don't see a lot of returns when people go to these kinds of events, because the issue is that you do get to cheer with a bunch of people, but it is very separated. I mean, your angle at a sports arena is pretty bad usually. I mean, your view of the unless you pay $2,000 a seat, you have kind of really bad view of the court or the field or whatever you're going to. But there's a lot of energy, and there's hot dogs, and there's all kinds of other things. I think they're trying to get somewhere in between. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do it. Is that you lose a lot of energy when you watch it at home, but what you get back is lots of camera angles and replays and all kinds of other things. So there's a trade-off there, and it'll be interesting to see. It looks impressive. Hopefully some of our folks in Dallas and LA can take a look at it and tell us what they think. Next time I'm in LA, I'm hoping to go to one just to see it. And it looks impressive, but I think for the investment of millions of dollars, I think recouping that might be difficult.
Bill?
Yeah, it seems to me like a kind of a kindergarten version of the Sphere kind of thing. I mean, certainly without any of the massive technology improvements they put into that. And I think I agree with that. I don't know if they have liquor licenses and can do a little bit of the beer kind of ballpark, relax with your friends and watch something. When I go to sit down in a theater, I'm looking for a relationship more with the screen than I am with the people around me. I think this seems to be trying to break that wall so that you're getting some of the interaction stuff with your fellow fans and things like that make a baseball game so charming, or any other sports event so charming. And then you're still trying to get all the right views and the data. I'm just not sure there's going to be a market. Maybe there will be. Maybe I'll prove to be totally wrong. But I think it's hard to get people out. Why wouldn't you just go to a sports bar and get not as much of that experience, but the ability to control your destiny by wandering around and changing seats, and still get that excitement that we got when we watched the female soccer thing one year, and we went to a Irish pub and just had a killer time overnight because of the environment we were in watching those soccer matches.
And let's see what Courtney has to say.
Well, I didn't realize this was, when I first looked at this video, I didn't realize that it was in a physical stadium. What popped into my mind, because of this floating screen that seems to be occluding part of the field, what a strange place to put an LED screen. I was thinking, oh, maybe this is a virtual meeting place where you go to and they construct, with an Unreal Engine, they construct this stadium with these floating screens that you kind of like your Vision Pro. Why would you put an LED screen out there? That seems very strange, unless they're just temporary. Maybe they're constructing this in Unreal Engine. You just dial into it and attend it over the internet, and it's a watch party that you watch remotely, virtually, and gets everybody together, and you can scream and shout, and the environment is like you were in the stadium. Wouldn't that be cool? But apparently, I guess, I don't know, I've never been to one of these. I don't know if they're actually doing these in stadiums themselves.
And Alex.
Yeah, the concept really is that you want to be around other people when you're watching these kinds of things, so it's more fun. Like, I have to admit that I if there was a bar in Novato that had Steeler games, I probably would go see Steeler games at that bar rather than watch them at home. My family's are not big football folks, and so I mostly watch the games by myself. So I think that there is an experience that be had with other folks. The question is are you going to be able to compete with that bar? That's playing that and having a bunch of people cheer and be interested in it. And and I think that it could be, we work on a lot of things. I work on a lot of things that are exploring this issue. It's just a really expensive screen, and so it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Go ahead, Courtney.
Yeah, Alex, but AI virtual friends don't get drunk and throw up on your feet,
That oddly enough has not happened to me. I've gone to a lot of shows and I haven't had. I've missed that. I missed that experience. Evidently, you have not, and there's a deep scar there. I can see
trauma.
Trauma. There's a lot of.
My virtual friends are much nicer than my actual.
There's a lot of trauma there for Courtney from somewhere in his past.
Next question.
From the QR code, Leon in Vienna. Alex, you mentioned Zoom 1080p is easier to get now. What are the details? Is it cheaper than 10 business accounts used today?
Alex?
Yeah, so in the past, you've had to get 10 business accounts to get 1080p. Now you can sign up for sessions. If you're a pro user, you can sign up for sessions, and I believe that's $99 a month or $990 a year. And then that will get you all of the sessions tools, but it'll also get you all the liminal tools as well for that account. So that is considerably cheaper, less than half of what it used to cost only a couple weeks ago. So really, really great solution. And if you are if you're looking for doing this and you want to move things to 1080p, it's much cheaper than it was before. It doesn't get you a lot of licenses. You still have to buy more licenses, but it does get you the 1080p solution.
Next question.
From the QR code, Ron Kostuik in Toronto. I noticed Stream Deck uses 15% CPU on my recent i7 PC. Is this normal?
Jason?
No, I don't think that's normal at all. I think unless your Stream Deck is using a lot of animations, or you have accounts that are plugged in there that you're not using. But no, I've never seen it get anywhere near that high.
Alexander?
Yeah, probably not. But I have noticed, and I'm curious, Ron, whether you're running the native Stream Deck app or BitFocus Companion. I have BitFocus Companion running. I don't use the Stream Deck app, and I'm running it on a fairly low-power, dedicated little fanless PC here that's got not the N100 chip, the previous one, the N95. I did notice that it does seem to take a decent amount of processor and RAM up, and if I have a browser open and I'm running any other web pages that consume a lot of memory, it can slow down the responsiveness of the Stream Deck. So if it's BitFocus Companion, it could be Companion. So I don't know how much RAM you've got on that computer, but that can also affect things.
Next question.
Next one's from John Preto in Las Vegas, Nevada. When and where will we see this week's Apple announcement?
Bill?
I don't know if they're doing a formal keynote. I haven't seen anything about that. But generally speaking, if I ever need news about Apple, I just go to apple.com. That is the most accessible thing. If you have an Apple TV, they typically have those Apple announcements pretty much anywhere there. And it's a very high quality delivery system. Apple puts a lot of time and energy into their keynote type presentations and things like that. Their PR system is a well-oiled machine, and they have all the streaming connections necessary to get everywhere. So I think you'll be able to find it pretty easily by just plugging Apple presentation into your search engine that day. You'll undoubtedly find it.
Alex?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do it. I have to admit that I think this is it's not brand new. They've done some of these things in the past, but it is a new format, and I think that it'll probably need some tweaking. I think that they really should stream these, and I think that they should tell us when they're streaming them. I think that they would find little mini events that happen. I also don't know why they're doing them in a specific week. I think that they could have done them 2 or 3 weeks in advance, just one every week, just something new coming out that Apple's doing. In fact, Apple could probably do something one every quarter or one every month and just do, here's a new product, or here's an update to a product, and have it be streamed out there. Maybe they think that they're going to water that down, but I think the frustration right now is that a lot of us are really interested in what they're releasing, and we have no idea when it's going to come out. And maybe that's the intention, is that we're all sitting there checking YouTube. I think that the place you're probably going to find it, I don't know if it's going to even show up on the website. These are Macs. These are a sliver of Apple's income, and they may not be doing that much PR. So they may not end up on the front page. They may not take off iPhone 16 Pro, which they want you to buy, for a Mac Mini. And so, yeah, you're probably best to look at the Apple YouTube channel to see what's happening there. And so I think that's probably the best bet. We expect to see Mac Minis with a new form factor. What we're expecting is a Mac Mini that is slightly bigger than an Apple TV. And then that is an M4. And we expect the M4 to be potentially twice as fast as the M3. Like that's the rumors, or twice as fast as the M2. I'm sorry, 38% faster than the M3. That's the rumors right now. But that's a huge jump from the last Mac Minis, and so so it'll be interesting to see if that actually occurs. Also, the new MacBook Pros are also expected as well, and we think that there might be a new 24-inch iMac. So those are the 3 big things that we're looking for. We're not looking for Studios or Pros, which is the weirdest thing ever. I mean, I really don't get Apple releasing the Pro stuff with the fastest chips last. It's a very odd way to do things, but sure.
And Alex, when you say YouTube, are you specifically saying Apple, or are you saying like some of the influencers like Marquise, or that they would get insights?
No, I think that I think Apple will probably release with this kind of product. I think that they are going to probably release, if they're doing a form factor change. So I think at least with the Mac Mini, they're going to release something that makes the case for why it is what it is. We're expecting most likely, 2 USBs or Thunderbolts on the front, 3 Thunderbolts on the back, those types of things. And so they'll be talking about that new design, I think. So I think you'll see a video. My guess is 5 to 8 minutes of a video that explains the product. And it's highly produced and put out there. And then there's rumors that they're doing social media briefings on Wednesday in Los Angeles and New York and a couple other places. And this is all, I don't have any inside information. This is mostly Mark Gurman talking about these things on Bloomberg.
Next question.
Douglas Carmichael is asking, why would the lead vocalist be putting his hand up to his ear as he sings?
Bill?
Well, if you want to look at it, it's kind of a classic singer pose at the beginning of that. This is just after he started singing it. And you usually do that if you're an on-stage performer because if you're using in-ear monitors, you want to press it further for just a moment into your ear canal. He's monitoring, am I on pitch? How does it sound? What am I doing? That is a classic, I'm using an ear monitor. Or even if you have no monitors, even if you're just performing live, you want to make sure that for a moment as you check what it sounds like in your head, you lose the distractions of outside things. So closing up an ear canal so that you can concentrate on your voice is just a natural reaction thing that a lot of performers do in the first few seconds they're performing.
And Courtney?
Yeah, this is an old announcer trick when you don't have headphones on or in-ear monitors, as we now call them. If you remember the old Laugh-In show, and you certainly are probably too young to remember that, you have Gary Owen with his hand up to his ear announcing the Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. And what that does is you form a little cup with your hand, and it routes the sound from your mouth up into your ear, and it gives you more separation. If there's loud music playing, you won't be able to hear yourself over the music, but this lets you know that you're on pitch because you may sound a little bit different inside your head versus outside your head. So this gives you a little feedback and lets you know that amplifies your voice over the existing the existing sounds of other choir members or the orchestra or whatever, to give you a little more information without in-ear monitors. And if they're doing this or this, where they're pulling their in-ear monitors out, it's a synchronization problem, that their in-ear monitors are not in sync.
Next question.
Leo Mendel in Mont Blanc, France. Plugging an Apple TV into the internet is the same thing as plugging in any smart TV. What am I missing?
Go ahead, Alex.
If a smart TV, when you buy it and you open up that interface, their business model is selling your information. Like, that is the business model. It's not to give you more content or sell you more content. It's to see what you're watching, and then they're going to package that up and they're going to sell it to a lot of folks, and they do, and it's very, very valuable, and it's why that TV is so cheap. It's because they are selling your data. You are the product. Apple's business model is privacy. I'm not saying that Apple is altruistic or a good company or anything else. They've just built a business model around not selling your data and continually obfuscating your data. You can watch Apple just slowly turn these little switches. If they did it all at once, they'd have all these governments and everybody else up in arms. But every year, every update, you just see them just turn that crank a little bit harder, because they sell you products that are very expensive or relatively expensive. That's where their margin is in the product, not in your data. And so they, because they sell those products, they don't care as nearly as much about the data, and they know that they can sell you more of those products if they protect your data. And so that's why Apple is different. That's why an Apple TV is different than all the other ones, is because it's not interested in, they actually have a vested interest in continually closing your data off from everyone else. And so if you want to give your data to everybody and constantly get emails about things you just watched, then knock yourself out. But you're just dumping an enormous amount of your data that you don't even understand what you're giving, because your behavior, how long, you got to get what they're measuring. How long did you hover over that channel? Like, at a system level, on a TV, how long did you hover on Netflix versus Disney? When you went to the Netflix thing, how long did you look at each one of those potential trailers, or potential shows that you're looking at? They're measuring all of that, packaging all that data up, and building a profile of you based on every millisecond that you're interacting with that TV, which just creeps me out. Like, I have to admit, that's creepy. Like, it's creepy, and so that's what you're doing. Apple's not doing that. In fact, it's not even letting people do that. In fact, it's constantly making it harder and harder for them to do any of those things. And so that's the distinction between an Apple product. You can decide whether you like Apple products or not, but if you're into privacy and you're into not handing off your data to everybody and being packaged up like, livestock, then you probably would not let them touch your TV.
Bill?
Yeah, I feel the same way about most of it. I will say the other thing that's been really nice about being in the Apple ecosystem, and I'm famously kind of all in on it because I use a lot of their tools every day, is the way that their security system shares privately your information through their own little system. So if I'm wearing my watch and I'm working on my computer, if I approach my computer with my watch, it's another layer of authenticity that says he had to get into his watch or he had to get into his phone using Face ID or something like that. So we know who this device is. We know it's linked to this device of him, and that's linked to the computer, and that's linked to his internet account. So if we see an anomaly on any of those things, he either it's okay if you don't wear your watch, you can still get in, but if you're wearing your watch and you walk up to the computer, it says, I already have 2 points of data to say this is the person who should be able to get through the password system. And we'll just do that automatically because we now have enough trust in all of these devices that are built with links to your authentication that it just makes things easier. I haven't put in as many passwords or typed in as many things in the last couple of years. It's a tenth of what I used to have to put in because the system knows it's me as I'm interacting with it. And that, to me, has been valuable in the Apple ecosystem, particularly when I'm out on my bike riding and using just my AirPods. I can get access to a lot of my data and stuff just through voice because it knows it's me wearing those AirPods.
Go ahead, Courtney.
Apple does track what you watch in the Apple TV app. And also, if you want, you have little plugins for streaming, services on there like Netflix, Amazon Prime, or Disney or Hulu. And, of course, you have to sign into your account and authorize that on your Apple TV for all those streaming services. And, of course, they're tracking you. One thing that drives me nuts, though, as Alex said, is connecting your TV to the Internet is Vizio. I have a Vizio TV upstairs, and it was fine. I have an antenna hooked up to it so I can view the 148 local channels on my TV, and it has the old remote where you can just punch in the number of the channel you want to watch, and bing, it comes up off the antenna. But the problem is Vizio updated the firmware in that TV recently, and you can no longer access the tuner in the TV without it being connected to the Internet, which is heinous. Yeah, because they want to, it goes to Smart View. When you want to watch broadcast TV, it goes to Smart View, and then it pulls in, if you're connected to the Internet, it pulls in that TV channel from an ad server on the Internet that is using the stream from your local channel and inserting local ads into your broadcast TV channel. And I had to disconnect it and reflash the firmware, and then they made it so that you couldn't go back on the firmware. So ever since Target bought Vizio. Vizio used to be a very good TV, and I really liked them until they sold out to Target, and now the advertisers, and the reason it's so cheap, as Alex said, is they're marketing your information, and they're serving you up ads specific to what you've been watching on your even local broadcast channels. And you can't even go, they've disconnected the number pad on the remote. You can't even punch in a number and go to it. You have to bring up a guide and scroll down 130 channels to choose the channel you want to watch. And it's just nuts.
And Alex.
Apple at a system level is definitely not tracking you. I can tell you.
No, they aren't, but everybody else is.
No, they're not. They're not. At a system level on an Apple TV, it is not tracking and reporting your information back to anywhere. You can put it on a what does it say? I can't read that.
Courtney, can you read that out
You can't.
for us?
You got to read that out. I can't read it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Apple TV collects information about what you watch in the Apple TV app on any supported devices signed into the same Apple account. You can clear your play history or remove information about what you've watched.
But that's
so
not,
you can clear it.
But it's not It's not selling it. It's tracking it for your use.
Well, it's not selling it. Yeah, it's not selling it to third party. But it is.
It's not selling to Apple. Apple's not using it either. They don't want to. They're using it so that you know where you were. It's a breadcrumb for you. But they're very fastidious about where that data goes. So it's definitely not going out like on a TV. It's going out to everyone. On Apple, it's there to support that
let
if you want to
pick
get rid
up
of it,
where you were before.
where you
but
left off. So it's definitely keeping track of that, but it's definitely not publishing that or letting anyone else publish
It's
it or
not
let anyone
selling
else
it.
use it.
Yeah.
It's not selling it, and again, that means that it doesn't need to track at the same level of detail, but it's there for your convenience. But they're not selling your data. This is what the TVs are doing: is selling your data to everyone.
But Netflix and Amazon Prime and Disney.
But you got to decide whether you want to be in that app and do that.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, people have talked about it. I'm slowly deciding which of these subscriptions I'm going to keep because I'm starting to lose interest. I've got 5 or 6 of them. I think I'm off 3 or 4 by the end of the year. So,
Next question.
Rajan Chandel in Los Angeles. Any recommendations on a teleprompter for an office hours global panel look under $500?
Alex?
it's hard to get under $500 with a monitor. So if you there's many iPad versions of these. Small Rig makes them. iCan makes them. A lot of other folks. iCan, by the way, I didn't realize until you asked this question. Man, they went all the way in. So there's prompter people, obviously that a lot of us have used in the past. I can't. You go up here, like they just built a whole nother company of teleprompters. Evidently, their first little ones. We bought a bunch of their small ones. They must have been successful, and they decided to build an entire division. I mean, I feel like they have an entire factory just doing teleprompters. So iCan, but most of the less expensive iCan ones have been discontinued. They're really going for an upper. They've started to charge a lot more, probably more in line with prompter people's teleprompters. But now you can just to remember that you can always build your own too. A teleprompter is a piece of glass that is at a 45-degree angle to the monitor, and with something. So I've built them. Built portable ones, built bigger ones than normal, and the largest one I built I think is about 70 inches. I wouldn't recommend it. Moving the glass, that you could die because if it breaks, sharp glass everywhere. But you can. There's definitely lots of ways to do it if you want to do it for less money. You can buy the glass directly and then build something into your system as well.
Jason?
I really like prompter people, and it's very hard, as Alex said, to get under $500. This is the Pocket Q V2, and the monitor model, if you click, is $659. So this is the phone version, but it is, I can say, very well built. There's one directly in front of me, and I like it quite a bit. So yeah, it's tough to go under $500.
Bill?
Well, Raj, if you really want to go low price and still work, I am sitting in front of one of these. It's from Caddy Buddy. It was about $165. It is not something I would travel with, although it does come with a nice, cheap aluminum case if you needed to. But the thing I like about it is it's pretty simple. I use it with a Lilliput reversing monitor underneath it, so that's going to add a couple $100 to that. But you can easily get a whole rig done. It has a really nice shroud that goes around it, as you can see here. And I've used that here on office hours. In fact, I'm looking at it right now, and it's been in use for almost 4 years continuously without a single day's hitch. So there you go, $164. Not a fabulous last your lifetime solution, but to sit on a desk and do the job, just fine.
Go ahead, Courtney.
Yeah, prompter people, they make a fairly cheap one, but I don't know about under $500. There's a company called Glide Gear. There's a Chinese company that makes a iPad type teleprompter you can get for around $200. And I think this doesn't look like an iPad here. This is their iPad or smartphone teleprompter V2. But I think you can just replace this. It's just a clamp that holds the iPad down here. You could get one of the Lilliput reversing monitors for maybe a couple of $100 and put it in there and still come out under $500. So that might be a way to go for you. They're fairly cheap. They do have fairly decent glass. I bought one of these for $99 from Fry's when Fry's was going out of business. So, it's not very versatile as far as adjusting the angles of things. So you might have to do a little mechanical modification of it to fit that monitor in there, to fit it into that clamp. But it is adjustable for different size iPads. So you could fit another a monitor in there as long as it's a fairly thin monitor.
And Alex.
And John Wallace also suggested the Elgato. Elgato. This is the Elgato. It's at $250. So it's another option there. One thing about the Elgato is that you are going to need it to use it as a monitor from a computer. So the reason that a lot of us are suggesting other ones is mostly because we want to feed whatever we want to feed into the teleprompter, not just necessarily the computer signal. So if you're just doing a computer signal for $250, the Elgato might be a good solution. I know a lot of people that seem to like it.
Next question.
From Tony Mobley in Noonan, Georgia. Liberty White, can you talk about the Women Technology event you attended last week?
I did. There's been a lot. So I've been away for a little bit just because from teaching and speaking, and specifically the Women in Technology Association of Atlanta. They were started in 1992. So this is their annual recognition for women in, and I was hoping to have this open, but women as small business leaders, emerging tech students. And it was just great to see even Dr. Messina Morris, who was on Office Hours, I think almost like 2 years ago, talking about the metaverse and what she's been doing with Morehouse. She actually won as well. So it was just really great to see these women in from students all the way to executives being recognized for their work. Something dear to my heart was also seeing they have a single moms group within WIT, and just seeing them evolve and grow, and some of the bursaries that they received from WIT. It is a nonprofit, so I will drop that link for it to support. But it was just wonderful to be in the room with all of these women who have just been making waves, not only locally in Atlanta, but just across the U.S. So thank you, Tony. I had a great time there. Next question.
From the QR code, Rafat Al-Sayed in Toronto, how do you add country flags next to each online contributor's name in the graphics when they ask a question during a live session?
Alex?
So how this works is that Tuomo, inside of SPX, we have those flags that are there. And Mickey has, I'll read Mickey's solution here. The information is taken into Isadora from the user's Makana profiles. Isadora forwards the information to SPX, which is where we keep the flags, and it contents a custom template. SPX then forwards it to Casper CG to generate the actual graphic and the output to the STI. So that's the shortest version of that. Basically, you're putting your country code into Makana, then that's being fed. It packages that every time you put it into Isadora. Isadora is our brain that looks at those and figures those things out. And then Isadora is telling SPX what to put out, and SPX is using Casper to get it there.
Next question.
Gordon Lake in Los Angeles, California. A group of highly qualified freelance camera operators complain at lunch that they don't get called as often as they used to. What advice would you offer?
Alex?
I found in this industry, it's what you know and who you know. And the thing is that the folks that are still, I know a lot of camera operators that are not as busy as they'd like to be. I also know a fair number of camera operators that are pretty busy right now, and so, or as busy as they want to be. And I think that a lot of it has to do with their network, of people and how they're seen by that network and the network of folks that they're interacting with. And so I think that is a lot of times. I have a group of people that I say, hey, I'm doing something. I don't got any budget. I'm just trying to figure something out. Do we want to go and shoot something? And there's a whole bunch of people that will show up for those kinds of things as we do it. Who do I hire when I have a paid job? Those guys, I think a lot of folks are staying at home and not working. But the thing is, keep your legs moving, be working all the time on some kind of project. And if it's not, some of your friends will have stuff that just isn't paid, and they're trying to figure out, they're trying to build a short film or a demo reel or whatever. And you want to be part of those things, because then you're kind of part of that team. So if you're not busy, find something to be busy with. That's generally what I've done most of the time.
Courtney?
Yeah, befriend the unit production manager, because they're the people that move from production to production, and they're not necessarily, they're independent contractors a lot of times. And so once you're getting good with a UPM, they will bring you a lot of jobs, as they move from production company to production company or production to production. So that's one way. If you're a member of the union, if you're a local 600 member, go online to the website and look, put yourself on the available for work list if there is such a thing. There is in 695. I think there is in 600. So at least someone that goes there can find you. But it's always who you know, not necessarily what you know. So make friends and use them, as one of my college professors used to say.
Bill?
And we're still trying to come back from all the disruption of the last couple of years. I don't think there is as much work being done across the entire industry, and that includes every level of it. I was at a Sony video games facility for a meeting the other day, and half of it is empty, not because they've done anything wrong, but there's just not as much work flowing through the system, period.
And a practical note, go through your database, go through your list, and literally let people know that you're available for work, and just being proactive on that stance. And so if you are looking for the schedule for the week, you can head over to officehours.global. And if you haven't heard, we've got a limited run of Office Hours shirts. So just head over to officehours.global/shop to get those shirts so that you can be a part of the cool kids on the show. And we're looking forward to our second hour coming up momentarily. So again, officehours.global.